Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ, with me is Jeff and Gary, and today our discussion is going to be based around the 1947 holiday classic, A Miracle on 34th Street. So Jeff, do you have your Christmas shopping done?
I'm sure I don't. I mean, as of the moment of this recording, no.
As of the time of this recording, I am about 1/3 the way done with my Christmas shopping, but again, that's because, well, as has been mentioned several times, I'm a bachelor and I don't have any kids, so I only really have to buy like 3 presents. So
you have one of them.
I have one. I just got a Christmas list from my mom to see what she wants, and I'm waiting for one of my siblings to send her list so I can get what she wants.
Yeah, so you do kind of like an assignment sort of thing.
Yeah, we draw names because all my siblings have their families to buy for and all that, so it was a bit of a pain to buy for their families and for all the siblings, so we just started drawing names.
It would end up hundreds of presents.
Yes.
They would just be,
Yes.
The logistics of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas is interesting in that particular regard, trying to figure out who and what to do. Anyways,
Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the themes in Miracle on 34th Street? The commercialization and how it seems to be
I wrote down in my notes, is like, it's interesting that they were thinking about this all the way back in 1947. It's still something people complained about today.
Yeah, it existed in that time where people were going, oh, this holiday, it's all about the presents. 2 generations later,
though,
people are still saying that.
Weirdly enough, they seemed to tie up that end of it, that particular plot point, fairly early on. Didn't they?
Well, I don't know if it's really a plot point per se. It's like a character motivation. It is the reason Kris Kringle gives for saying, sure, I'll be the Santa Claus at Macy's. What is Santa Claus? Well, okay, I guess that is one of the questions of this movie. Is Kris Kringle like actually Santa Claus, or is he just a very nice, kind old man who just happens to have Santa-like qualities? Because they legally prove he's Santa Claus, but is he really?
Well, and that's one of the cool things about this movie, is that it doesn't answer that question. It leaves it on a
cliffhanger. It's like the end of Inception, except no spinning top.
And the and the quote unquote miracles that he does are all very they seem to be very
miracle-y, but at the same time, they're plausible, right?
They're very plausible. Like the fact that he has extensive knowledge of how much toys cost and where the best deals are for them, and the fact that he knows all of that just right off the top of his head, all of that could be done by a person, right? But it's potentially,
but not normally.
Not normally. Like that person, that would have to be their entire life, and we don't really know his life up until then. So you're right. This doesn't establish anything concrete. We could
know that he lives. Go ahead.
No, you were saying something, BJ.
Okay, so I was saying that we do know that he lives at like I guess nowadays you would call it a nursing home, an old folks home.
Yeah.
Because he is well known by the doctor there, and the doctor likes him. He's like, oh yeah, he's harmless. Good kind of delusion.
Feels, even though he has that the doctor does say that, where they say that even though he has a delusion, it's a harmless delusion, and in every other respect, he is a person who has knowledge of his present situations. He is physically fit. He fits every criteria of being a productive member of society. except he has this belief that he is Santa Claus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, which is strange because if he was very crazy, like he had dementia or something like that, then you would think that would show there'd be other clues. He would be very forgetful or something else, but he doesn't have any other symptoms. He's very healthy, very intelligent, very insightful. He can really read people very well. And yet he also has this, and you don't know if he believes it or he's just putting up the act because of some other motivation that he might have. He's a mysterious character.
On the other hand,
and the show wants, yeah, go ahead.
No. On the other hand, he does have a violent outburst during the show. So there is that. So I would have to establish
there is
that puts him into the problematic on whether or not he is the true Santa Claus, because I have my doubts as to whether or not Mr. Santa Claus would be violent towards a person no matter how horrible they were acting as a person. You know, he has other people to do that for him if needs be, right?
Okay,
he has a hit squad among the elves.
No,
not necessarily
a
among
group
the elves.
of elven commandos.
In Santa mythology, in like I don't know what you want to call it, like the Santaverse or whatever, there is a cavalcade of I don't know if you would necessarily call them sidekicks. I have just kind of started to do some research on this for like other reasons, but there is a host of counterparts.
Yes, counterparts would be a good
to Santa.
Yes.
Probably the most well-known one nowadays is Krampus.
Yes.
But there are
I've never heard of this.
Quite a few little dark counterparts to Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, whatever you want to call them.
And they would be the ones who would be handling the punishment of people who were bad-mouthing Santa Claus. And he would have his hands...
Not necessarily bad-mouthing Santa Claus, but...
just being bad people in general.
Because, you know, back in the day, winter was not good. I mean, well, other phrases. Nowadays, winter can be sort of a nuisance. It can be a little dangerous if you drive, but like back in proper ye olden times, winter was a very dangerous season. So if you did not go along with the established wisdom, bad things could happen.
Yes.
Ergo, you have these little side characters to inspire people to be good and follow the rules. And be happy you're getting those new clothes, otherwise the old cat will come and eat you. You laugh.
Or Black Pete will come along and put you in his... Black Pete will come along and put you in his bag and take you away. Or something else along those lines. So... Yes. But this Santa Claus has... this... I put Santa Claus in air quotes. This Santa Claus has Mr. Kringle has a violent outburst, so therefore it puts him into very suspect territory. As kind-hearted of an old man as he is, I've got my eyes on him. That's not a very nice thing to have done.
It does,
but you also have to take this into account that this was 1947, so hitting somebody on the head with a cane, even though it's not appropriate, back in those times, physical violence wasn't viewed in the same way that it necessarily would be today.
Well, to be fair, the bopping of the not psychiatrist with the cane is what starts legal trouble. So there is consequences to that act inside the movie as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and his motivation is that he's very upset because somebody is being taught by this person that they're enjoying being Santa and going out and giving gifts to kids. It's wonderful. They really like it. It's a huge positive motivator for them, and they're enjoying it. And the psychiatrist is like, if you like this, there must be something wrong with you, because you're playing the part of another person, and that's not mentally healthy.
Yeah, what's the guy's name? Sawyer? And it turns out Sawyer is just a very miserable person who enjoys sharing that misery with others.
Well, something. I mean, it's hard to really... He's just a guy who is, I guess, overconfident about his own abilities.
I don't know if it's that. It does seem like he's... Because he doesn't seem very confident in his powers, his powers per se. Is
like it is his abilities to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah. Because he does seem to lose confidence pretty quick once he has to start facing the consequences. Consequences, that's a hard word to say. Consequences, because of the results of his actions.
Well, they mentioned this, that even though he's a psychologist, he's not really qualified to do psychology work. He mainly just conducts tests of people to determine things. Yeah. They
do say that he is supposed to administer what they say, like intelligence tests, and instead he like psychoanalyzes people, which is what he does with the young man in question. I forget what his name is. Alfred or something like that.
Yeah, which in terms of the court case would have been probably the best thing to do, because if he's saying he has to be admitted, then what you could do is then call into question his qualifications for even having that diagnosis. That would have been probably the right legal argument, I would think, to make. But that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about having fun, so... And it is much funner to have a court case where they determine if he is Santa Claus.
It was interesting to see the political ramifications of the behind the scenes politics start playing out in this courtroom drama that this movie turns into very rapidly. The political...
Yeah, it escalates too. It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, the political implications, that judge, he's like facing a... He's facing a re-election of sorts, or an election of sorts, and he's
like they're getting him ready to run for office.
Yes, he's realizing that he doesn't want to be the person who throws Santa Claus into the loony bin on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
he does not want to be the one that states that the New York Supreme Court declares that there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
I do appreciate the thread that the introduction, that is, that the prosecutor brings in, where he says, well, okay, let us not deny the existence of Santa Claus, but let us instead deny the validity of this man's claims to be said person. I believe that was a very strong argument on the prosecution's case.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was just going to add, never mind. No, I lost it. No, you go ahead, BJ.
Jeff's spells have been jingled. But yeah, I was going to say that Gary kind of mentioned it in the review that I don't know like how well it would hold up in court, but at the very least, the court proceedings past the I don't know what you call it, the glance test. It doesn't seem to be too far out of the realm of too far out of the realm of possibility at the first look.
Though I did not see a jury of his peers in this particular
it's a
but it wasn't really a trial, though.
It wasn't.
This was like just a hearing, right?
Yeah, it was not a trial. It was they often call it a trial, but yeah.
I think
it was legally a hearing. I don't know what the rule and well, for all you know, maybe he waived his right to the trial and just wanted like a bench trial. I don't know if he can do that or not. I am not a legal expert.
Then again, he had already
neither really is this movie.
He had already been convicted, hadn't he? They'd already put him in the home. He was just trying to fight. Maybe this was an appeal. I don't know.
So the point of the trial, from what I recall, is that it was to get him like officially committed, I guess, legally committed. Like the idea was that they were just going to take the paper to the judge was going to sign it. But then the lawyer, Mr. Gailey, showed up to contest it, and that's where the whole hearing comes from, and then it turns into the big behind the scenes political thing and all that fun stuff.
So
okay, so there's one thing that go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
No, well, I was gonna say, then it just kind of turns into so they need an establishment. Isn't that the thing? The final argument of they need something that officially establishes Mr. Kringle as Santa Claus.
How they phrase it? They need an authoritative figure, I guess. Is that how they phrased it?
Yes, they need an authoritative figure to have stated that this man is indeed Santa Claus, and I believe they used the U.S. Mail Service.
Yeah. So for people who haven't seen the movie, what happens is that the don't you call her the main character, the
little girl?
Well, no, I was talking about her mom, the leading lady, Miss Walker. So I think my bells just got jingled too. Where'd my brain go? Okay, so basically what happens is that the little girl, what's the little girl's name? I forget. Susan? Something like that. So so she writes a letter to Chris to cheer him up, and she mails it to the courthouse because that's where he is, right? And so a person at the post office sees that and is like, hey, look at that. It's a letter to Santa Claus at the post office. And then have right there like, hey, we have all these letters that we have to hang on to that were addressed to Santa Claus because try as the post office might, they don't have legal jurisdiction in the North Pole, I guess. So they're like, hey, what if to get rid of all these letters, we just send it to this guy down at the courthouse who's getting this one letter. He's Santa Claus, right? So because they do this, the lawyer makes the legal argument that the post office recognizes Kris Kringle as Santa Claus.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Which is a federal agency, so it's
and it's
it gives them some legal precedence.
And having documents mailed to you with your name on the address is a form of ID that is even recognized to this day. It's not like the full ID, but if it's a corroborative, like if you have your driver's license plus pieces of mail, you can establish who you are. Okay, I do have a question though, BJ, because when I watched that, it went slightly different from that. And the reason why I say this, because in my watching of it, I saw that it wasn't just that they sent the letter, it's the mother actually made a phone call to the post office, telling them that could they please speed this letter along. And then send any other mail there.
My version did not have that scene.
Yes, that's why I have a question. It did have that scene, and then my version also did not have a drunk Santa, which was something I had remembered from previously, but I didn't see it in this one. So, did you see a drunk
Santa?
Your version had a drunk Santa? Yeah. Okay.
It's at the very beginning.
Yeah. Okay, so
in the parade.
So I guess we need to establish where everyone watched their version. I watched the version that was on Disney Plus.
I watched a version that was on Amazon, free with commercials.
We might have actually watched different versions because there's a 1947.
No, this is the 1947.
And then there's also a 1950.
Yeah, no, it's not the 1994 version that had like one of the Baldwins as the lawyer.
No.
There's also a 1950s version, though. There's another black and white one that was like a decade later.
No, but I had the same one with John Payne playing Fred Gailey and, you know.
Yeah, and Maureen O'Hara.
Yeah.
And another person that we have had on another previous
and
review.
I didn't see the Dutch girl. I remember all of these things. Like there was a little Dutch girl.
Yeah,
and he talks to her.
She was in my version. Yeah.
I didn't see that. Okay, maybe I got a really weird edit on mine.
What the heck did you watch, Gary?
What
is Amazon doing?
It had Macy's. It had him going to Macy's, becoming Santa Claus, him suggesting toys to...
So you don't remember a scene where a little girl is brought to him and they say, well, she's an orphan, we're taking her in.
Well, Gary remembers that scene, but that scene was not in the version he watched, he said.
Yes, I don't remember that.
Okay. You watched
or I remember it, but I didn't see it. So it's weird. So maybe there's different versions of the same 1947. Is there like
different cuts?
Different cut? I don't know. Yeah, it said 1947.
That's a weird scene to leave out.
But it had all the rest of the major.
Yeah, wipe out those scenes and like insert one in. That's weird.
Maybe I had a weird edited for TV version that got transcribed in Amazon. I don't know. I don't know which version Amazon picked up, but that's the one I saw. So yeah, because I remember all this stuff being in there, but
that would. So you don't remember the drunk Santa either?
No, I remember him.
He remembers that, but I wasn't in the version that he's.
But you didn't see him in the. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You didn't see them. So how does that storyline work without the drunk Santa? Because that's really how you introduce.
They've already hired
the character.
Because I remember the drunk Santa is the reason why they hire him in the first place. But in this one, they'd already hired.
What's the word? The
impetus to hire the new Santa. But in this one, there was no drunk Santa. They just immediately hired him. That scene got cut for whatever reason.
Why did they get rid of the inciting incident?
Well, they just...
Yeah, that is weird.
I don't know, but... And then my question is if they cut that scene, why did they instead add the she calls the people instead of... Because I remember two distinct versions of this one. And I was just wondering if this was Mandela effect, but no, it just seems like there's two different versions of this same exact movie wandering around. Because I remember your describing of it, but then when I watched it last night, I saw my version of it, where it wasn't the people at the mailroom who were saying, hey, isn't there a Santa Claus at the courtroom? Yeah, we should send him all of the Santa Claus letters. And that's how it happens.
Yeah, I was about to ask, did your version not have the scene in like the mail sorting room?
No, it didn't.
Have her call and say, make sure this letter gets to Santa Claus or whatever.
And then you could just forward any other Santa Claus mail to them as well. Because that's what she ends up calling them and saying that, which didn't happen in yours, right? So...
No, the post office makes that decision and show a scene.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's weird.
That's totally weird.
That is weird.
But
I'm not seeing. I've been scanning through the Wikipedia article. I don't see any
references to.
Yeah, not seeing like any references like that to like any different versions. You learn something new every day. No offense to the Amazon version, but I think the version of Disney Plus makes more sense. I think
it does.
Yeah.
It does because the with mine it would just seem like something that's. On the other hand, there is one thing. It did feel like there was. I'm going to make this argument about the version that I watched because it's more of a philosophical.
That's what we do. We argue about things.
It's more of a philosophical argument, right? Santa Claus isn't created by... The argument I'm going to make is that Santa Claus isn't created by us by happenstance, right? In that other version, in the version you guys watched, apparently Santa Claus is created by happenstance, where you see him and he's you see him and he's created because in the mailroom he's created because people happen to see that he's in that courthouse, and so they happen to decide to send him there. But in the version I watched, he is created because he is created because people believe in him. The woman calls and tells the people to mail all of the or send all of that mail to him because she believes in him. She finally believes that he is Santa Claus, and her belief prompts her to do actions, which therefore creates him, gives legitimacy to him as being Santa Claus. So it's kind of one of those weird philosophical ways of Santa Claus isn't real because it's the chicken and the egg argument, except in this case it finally establishes Santa Claus isn't created. You don't believe in Santa Claus because he exists. Santa Claus exists because you believe in him in this particular case.
Oh, I mean, you could argue that that in the version with the mail sorting room, that Santa is still created by belief and faith, because it is the belief of the mother and the little girl in Kris Kringle that...
Hey everyone, this is BJ while he is editing the audio.
That letter
just as a little aside to
that letter
that mystery of what the heck Gary watched.
Post office workers
Turns out he
send along the rest of the letters
watched
to
the 1955
Chris at the courthouse
which is
a
made-for-TV movie based on the 1947 version. We're not quite sure how that happened
to tell the post office to send all those letters to the courthouse
for the 1947 version.
To be fair, it's not like the postal workers really have that authority either, but it makes more sense for a bunch of
the main story beats were there.
The post office workers who don't want to deal with all the dead mail.
That's the mystery of
hand off the problem to someone else, and it just so happens to save the day.
But version
that's neither here nor there, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, and you're left with as the audience, you see all these mysterious things happen, which are all plausible, but at the same time, as an audience member, you go, wow, things sure worked out perfectly for Kris Kringle. So it's that wink wink, like, okay, but is he really Santa? Or is he just an incredibly intelligent man with an enormous amount of luck that, you're really caught between the two ideas? And it's fun and playful. They're fun and playful with that idea as they go through the scenes. I wanted to mention, though, did you guys notice that the actor who played Kris Kringle is in another movie that we all like? In the movie Them. He's also the scientist. Yeah.
I think Them was
Dr. Hartman, I think. Yeah.
I forget what his character's name is in Them, but I think Them might have been, or at least our Them episode.
Medford, Dr. Medford.
Yeah, I think our Them episode might have been pre-Gary.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So I don't know if Gary has seen Them recently. I'm sure I have made him watch it at some point.
Yeah.
Instead of 8 tiny reindeer, it's 8 giant ants. Shoot the antennae.
Shoot the antennae. Okay, so I have one big problem with this movie, but it's not really a legitimate concern. I don't think it's a legitimate criticism, but it's when in the movie the judge and the prosecutor get a lot of pushback from their own families and from even political pushback because they're putting Santa Claus on trial. And as much as that, I realize the fun side of that, in that it's a funny scene where the guy has to even where his own son is put on the stand and testifies, and he has to deal with all that. It's funny, but at the same time, I kind of feel like the grown-up side of me that doesn't get movies made for families and kids, that side of me goes, well, obviously, if somebody's a prosecutor in a trial, you don't want external forces to interfere with what they're doing. I mean, the whole point of a lawyer putting someone on trial or prosecuting is that the fact that they have to do that as part of their job. The whole idea, if there's a villain in the story, you wouldn't say the judge is a villain. The judge is assigned to the trial. It's not like, and that's one of his predicaments. It's not a trial he wants, but he's, like he says in the movie, he's supposed to be a judge. So if a case comes his way, he has to do his job.
Yeah,
and the rest of the people don't seem to understand that, which I'm actually on the judge's side. I think it's his job just to be the judge, not to decide which cases are okay or not. He has to follow procedure. And so
they pretty much do the same thing with like the prosecutor too, right? They pretty well accept the fact that none of these people want to be the ones to try Santa Claus, or at least a Santa Claus case, but it's their job, so they have to.
Yeah.
Right. And to a lot of people watching this movie, they may not understand it. Like the kids. The kids don't understand that. They just see them being mean to Santa Claus. That's all that they see. And I think, to me, it's a difference in separation. And in the movie, they play them up as the bad guys, which I get why they do that in a family movie.
I don't think they really play them up as the bad guys. I think the only person that's really a full-blown antagonist is the psychiatrist.
Right. And if you're going to point fingers at this whole ordeal, it would probably be the psychiatrist. But at the same time, the psychiatrist did get hit on the head. So it's just a situation that everyone had to walk into. Yeah. Yes. So if anything, it's the fact the psychiatrist wasn't qualified. That's what the whole mess really comes down to. Yes, but I do think that a lot of people may not understand that what the purpose of a judge is. And it's not to do what somebody wants to do. It's to make the court process happen. That's the purpose of the judge. Not to determine what is right and wrong, but really to let the process of the law go through. And so that's the part of this whole court case thing that really kind of irked me as I was watching it. But I realize the movie is not at that level. It is just a fun movie where you laugh as the letters are dumped onto the judge's desk, and you laugh as they make points in the court, and they struggle to they're like being told, hey, Santa Claus is real, and they're like, okay, but how do we legally handle that? So the whole thing is funny.
So I've been thinking about asking this question, but I want to phrase it as delicately as possible, because I know I have at least one youngish nephew who hears this podcast on occasion when my sister listens to it, so gonna phrase this as delicately as possible. So one of the themes in this movie, or maybe not themes, but one of the things they talk about in this movie is sort of having a sense of belief against accepting the realities of the world. And this comes in the form of young Susan, who is being raised by a single mother who has since divorced the father, and this mother believes that the child should be taught only what is real. So Susan doesn't have much imagination. She doesn't know like any fairy tales or anything like that, and as such, she does not believe in Santa Claus. Now, as the bachelor in the room, I don't have to answer this question. So as y'all who have kids, how did you approach the Santa situation, shall we call it?
So,
and
Santa Claus is very real, BJ. I
of course
am astonished.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
I'm astonished.
I mean, they have weather tracking for
NORAD.
Tracks,
the NORAD even tracks Santa, BJ.
I am not doubting this isn't the Santa Claus. I'm just saying there are people who do so.
Yes, there are naysayers out there.
And
young people are aware of those naysayers.
Yes, and without naming them, I believe I know at least one person who, I don't know if after they have children, if they actually did this, but I know at least one person who swore when they had kids that they would, that they would not go along with the belief in Santa Claus with their child
which is just like the character
for whatever reason.
In this movie, the mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say that those people are, how would I put this?
Yeah, how would
there's no fun in their life. There's no joy or spark.
Yeah.
Well, there's less fun.
Happiness.
Yeah. There's 25% less fun.
Yes. So let's put a pin. Let's actually, not put a pin. Let's
dodge this question.
Actually, no. Let's not.
Let's pretend we answered the question and then not answer the question.
No, let's bulldoze into this question because you establish traditions with your children, right? To build up and to introduce them to the magic which is Santa Claus in their lives. In my family, we have the shoes, which I have no idea how we ended up with this tradition, because it's a Dutch tradition, and as far as I know, there's no Dutch in my entire family. But we've decided to carry on in.
But you grew up with.
I grew up with
I've
this
heard
tradition.
of this. Like there's you. No, like you put your shoes down the night before. I'm not sure if I completely know it. But
no, you describe it,
Jeff.
Just
leave your shoes out. Well, I'm probably wrongly describing it, but you leave your shoes out and then you wake up and there's like treats and other things inside your shoes. Is that how it works?
That is more or less true. So, but we don't leave just our shoes. We end up leaving these special wooden shoes, right? We've painted them.
Clogs, more or less, right?
Yeah, clogs. Me and Wesley have painted them ourselves, and we might give them another coats coming here now that we're a little bit better at painting. We painted these shoes up, and they're nice, special little wooden shoes. And you leave your Christmas wish list. This is how Santa Claus receives his letter. It's not in the mail. You leave it in the shoe, and then it magically makes its way towards Santa's workshop. And the magic that makes it happen leaves small treats the morning after, right? So you put your wish list.
Wait, the shoes travel to the workshop and then come back?
It's more like they're a magic portal. I don't know exactly how this particular magic works, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
All I know is the night before,
I wouldn't
Wesley
expect
puts
you to have scientific formulas.
I don't have a scientific formula. I don't know exactly how this works, Jeff. But all I know is the night before...
Do not question the Santa magic, Jeff.
Yes. The night before, we make sure that all of our Christmas wish lists are in those shoes. And then the next morning, Wesley goes down and looks at the shoes, and there's treats in there now, and the wish lists are gone, having made their way to Santa Claus. That's all I know, right?
So is this something that y'all do, so just to clarify, so this is something you do before Christmas Eve, I assume?
This is something that we do early on in Christmas. I think there's a specific day when we're supposed to do it. We usually just do it at the end of the first week of Christmas. Or December, that is. So that means
so early December.
December.
It's a great way of getting a message transmitted to Santa. That's great.
We established that this is your last message to Santa Claus. Short of you approaching him in the department store.
Yeah, and in true Santa fashion, he leaves treats because Santa's like that.
Yes,
He's always giving. And yes.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Like I said, I've been kind of looking into this for some other reasons, but I believe December 6th is like the traditional feast of Saint Nicholas, so that might be where that might be like the quote-unquote official day to do this.
In which case, we will be doing it right on time because I plan on doing it this Friday. So.
So Gary does the magic shoe thing as compared to, well, I can't say this with, I can't say it with any sort of authority, but it seems like you do that instead of I don't know if it's as popular as it was, but I bet the whole elf on the shelf thing, aka Santa's police state.
Yes, no, that
everyone must have an elf, and the elf reports your actions.
I don't know who,
but can you hide the elf into?
I don't know how that particular situation was started. What wizard created that particular magic spell and associated it with Santa Claus? All I know
elf on the
is
shelf or the shoe.
The elf on the shelf. All I can speak to is the shoe business. The elf on the shelf is not something. It's not magic that works in the household. All I can say is that.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone in my family really did the elf on the shelf thing. I know there were some people who got like way into it, but yeah.
I do know that the magic of what is generally accepted by all families that participate in this holiday and believe in the magic of Santa Claus, they're all generally rewarded with a Christmas morning, Christmas Eve, you set out the milk and cookies. And then Christmas morning, the cookies are partially eaten and the milk is drank, and a whole bunch of presents are now underneath the tree that were not under the tree before. Typically labeled from Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. I would like that. I would like any lawyer to argue against that particular evidence.
Where did the presents come from then, Mr. Prosecutor? It says from Santa.
They do. They say from Santa Claus. Where did they come from? Case dismissed. Anyways.
Your Honor, arrest my case.
The magic of Saint, and then also there is the other side of the concept where I have heard, this is uncredited, but I have heard various and assorted religious authorities have credited the magic of Santa Claus as being a generally good thing, to where it prompts people to do good things this time of year, and any motivation to do good things, most especially at this time of year, is generally to be admired. So,
yes,
that is that particular take on it. And if it gets, and if you can hold that over little boys and girls' heads, to get them to try to at least act good for a few extra days at this time of year, then by all means use it. I'm not going to begrudge any parent from any form of tactic.
As someone who has worked retail for quite some time and spent quite a bit of time at the customer service counter, which at my store happens to be near the toy area, it is always interesting to see what time of year the parents start to break out the entire, well, if you're good, maybe Santa will bring it to you for Christmas.
When does that happen?
If used properly.
Which is good. I know it's positive to show that there are consequences for actions. You're making a connection. You're like, yes, you're good. Guess what happens later on? Good. I realize there is more to that formula that they learn later on, but it is the basic idea, and it's good to teach kids the basics of that.
Actually, Jeff, I was going to go into a different tangent, if I may.
All right.
Probably towards
this
being
bring another tangent.
Okay.
Into the committee. Go ahead.
Now I'm going to re-ask that question, BJ. What time of year does that start to happen? Because there is a much more important question. I think one that even Jeff is involved with that will lead into this. But I just want to ask you, when does that start to happen, BJ? When do parents start to bring out that
it depends on the family. I have seen it. I didn't see as much this year because I am doing a different job at my store than I have in years past. But it seems like I could start. It seemed like the most common, the earliest, was sometime in October, but usually pre-Thanksgiving it was starting to become pretty common.
Okay, so
starting in November, shall we say?
A much more important and hotly debated topic in my family is when exactly the Christmas times start. You know, when does the Halloween and the Thanksgiving end, and when do the Christmas times start?
This is a controversial issue that you're bringing up.
Yes, Jeff, you know this. BJ, it might not be as apparent in your household, or maybe it is. When does that start to happen? Now, in my family, and I've become something of a tyrant, as it were, because I have stated that the tree does not come up until after Thanksgiving. This has garnered me much. This has cost me a lot of political capital within my household, as it were. Jeff, I don't know how it works
I have spent
in your
much goodwill to enforce this rule.
Jeff, how does it work in your household? When do the holly jollies start?
I usually have pushback and say, we got to take care of Thanksgiving first. I mean, come on. Are we really going to let one holiday morph its way into absorbing another one like a giant blob? That's like an uncontrollable creature that expands to consume all holidays of all kinds? Like, where do we draw the line? And then I make that point, and then I lose, and then the family just does whatever they want. That's usually what happens.
Well,
I'm an advocate who gets shut down.
Well, I happen to hold the stranglehold on being the only one that can put up the tree and take down the massive boxes of decorations. So things don't happen unless I have my say-so. But it sounds like you actually have not quite the monopoly on that I do.
No. I mean, there were lights that came up early, but what am I going to do? Try to stop it?
Well, I mean,
I'm smarter than that at this point, but go ahead, BJ.
So in my family, as Gary and Jeff probably well know, we are a tree up and early kind of joint. The excuse my dad used to say is that, well, we have to get the lights up before it starts getting really cold, right? And it doesn't make sense to just get the lights out. So might as well get all the decorations out at the same time, right? As we established back in the Gary episode,
there is some
the Grinch
logic
episode,
to that.
Much to Gary's, who used to live across the street from me, much to his discomfort, as the lights would be bright in his window,
very bright,
hampering his sleep cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the excuse, but no, like even now, the trees in my parents' household went up pretty early this year. It was definitely pre-Thanksgiving, and maybe this year would be like a bad example of that because this year Thanksgiving was quite late. It was like on like the 28th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would put up with your tyranny, Gary, because going with that, the tree would be up for less than a month, and that is just not cool.
Less than a month seems
less than
wrong,
a month before
right?
Christmas.
Technically, we're to the 28th to the 25th, right? So
yeah.
Minus 3 days.
I mean,
you're losing
of course.
3 whole days.
Well, yeah, and of course, my family being my family being my family, we're not the I know there are people who take the tree down on like the 26th, right? My family was not one of those families. I have one of my siblings has a birthday in the early January, so it would keep the tree and lights up through their birthday. So
okay, VJ. But
so I'd be a Christmas freedom fighter in Gary's tyrannical Thanksgiving kingdom.
Okay, so in my tyrannical observance
I'm a
of
mercenary
Thanksgiving,
to hire me next year. I will put the tree up for you.
In my tyrannical observance of Thanksgiving as a holiday separate and wholly celebrated from Christmas, in my defense,
my family still does Thanksgiving, but
like I said,
go ahead.
I hold a monopoly on being the one who gets down.
Defend yourself, tyrant.
I am the one who holds the monopoly on.
Nobody else can get it out of the attic or whatever,
yes,
right?
Nobody
Gary?
else gets the stuff out of.
You're the one who can provide the tree.
Now, I'm not the only one who can provide the tree. I'm just the one who does provide the tree. If other people choose to provide the tree at any time, they may. Crickets start to happen. I'm the one who's belling the cat. So since I'm the one who's doing the work, I get to have the most say in when the work happens. The fact that it did happen the day after Thanksgiving in this year, was, my solid defense. I held to my standards, Christmas time, the holiday season.
I feel like this is partially my family's fault.
That he's so bitter.
Anyways, so yeah,
the holidays are a difficult transition for your.
It's not an easy task getting a lot of this stuff down and getting it unpacked and whatnot. Those boxes are heavy. My wife has accrued a lot of Christmas decorations over the years. Those boxes are many and heavy. The tree, we actually got a new tree this year, which is good because our old tree was, yes, we have artificial trees. No, we have not gone natural trees yet. One day we will try natural tree.
Trees are the way to go.
One way we will try natural tree. I don't know. But, yeah.
I don't know if I've actually known anyone who uses a natural tree. Everyone I know just has an artificial tree.
When I was a kid,
I get the appeal of a real tree, but it's a lot of extra hassle to have a real tree. Yeah.
When I was a kid, we stuck to natural trees for a very long time. We didn't get an artificial tree. Huh. We stuck to natural trees for a very long time. And it was
because it
quite
has a smell, right? It's that very nostalgic pine smell.
It's the pine smell. There's also the magic of going out and choosing it. You have to prepare it and whatnot. It was quite the ordeal to make it happen. This is another thing, like you're never going. This might also, key in be another reason why I stick so strongly to this one, because you're never going to get a natural tree before Thanksgiving. I mean, maybe you can find a lot that will sell it to you before then, but most of the time those places don't open up until well into December. So
and then it's probably hard to keep a natural tree in good shape that long.
Yeah, especially
that is hard because you have to water it and put like plant food in the little bowl thing.
So
and then it dries out anyway.
Yeah, it will dry out anyway.
You don't want a dead tree right on the 25th.
So there's a lot.
It's complicated. It is.
It is a complicated matter that you have to deal with a natural tree as opposed to an artificial tree. One day I might take up that mantle and try a natural tree again. For right now, we're just doing artificial. Yeah, artificial, you could put it up. You could keep it up all year long, and there's not going to be any realistic repercussions, other than the fact that the cats will try to murder it. If you have cats, trees are, difficult.
Yeah, because they climb into the tree.
Yes.
And then just kind
of
they
want to murder
it. They love being in there.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. They want to murder it.
Yes, when you have cats, I don't have cats anymore, but I grew up with cats. You learn to not put the fragile ornaments do not go low on the tree when you have cats.
Yes.
Or young children, I suppose.
So,
yeah, I have destructive cats and destructive children, so yeah, that tree is probably not going to make it.
That's pretty much all I have on that particular subject. Is there anything else that you guys were wishing to discuss?
No, I'm good. I mean, the whole legal stuff it's fun as long as you keep it as a family movie in your mind. It's fun. And it has that iconic scene where they dump letters on the judge's desk. How cool was that? When I was a kid, I loved that. That was the moment where everything was funny.
Yeah, they did something different in the 1990s version. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't.
No, I remember you describing it. It's way lame.
As like authoritative as like the.
It's way lame.
It's
he pulls out doesn't he pull out like a dollar bill or something? And
like a dollar bill or something. Yeah, I remember almost nothing about that movie, to be totally honest. I don't know that thing, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. Anyways,
But yeah, the court case is not decided in the same way, which is kind of lame because I kind of like how this film ends. It's
the establishment.
Blame the government.
The clear and establishing shot of all of the postmen walking into the courtroom, dumping letters, the judge having to deal with the literal mountain of evidence clearly pointing to the fact that this man is indeed Santa Claus. So.
Yes, and he totally said, just put it on my desk.
Yes, just it was his put words. It on my desk. Your words? Are you sure about
that? Put it here.
Yeah, it's just classic. Anyways. So yeah.
So yeah, there you go, folks. If you listen to this podcast on the day it comes out, you only have 1 week to get your Christmas shopping done. Chop chop, Jeff.
I'll put this as a reminder.
I have plenty of time.
I'll put this as a reminder to myself. Hey, future Gary, if you don't have your shopping done,
this is your reminder.
This is your reminder. Get your shopping done. Felina, who listens to this,
Christmas Eve.
Sorry, wife. BJ, edit out name. Wife, who listens to this. Yeah, she's been on.
Your wife's been on the podcast.
Yeah. Wife who listens to this, please put up with the fact that I might not have remembered, and just say, Gary, please go and buy the gifts now. And remind me what I'm supposed to be buying too. Yes, thank you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. That it helps.
Please and thank you.
The reminder has been set.
The reminder has been said. Yes. All right, and that's about it. That's all I got. Jeff?
Okay, yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Yep, and we can't forget the other holiday. Christmas is a way of making us forget about other holidays. We also have New Year's.
I thought you were going to bring up Thanksgiving again. I'm like, we're doing it, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, the left out holiday.
It's like maybe we didn't celebrate as properly as we did last year for the White Buffalo episode, but I think we mentioned Thanksgiving in passing.
The White Buffalo.
Right. The most Thanksgiving.
What a controversial movie.
Anyway, I don't think it was very controversial. I think everyone is pretty well established on the great movie.
Yeah,
that's compared to Miracle on 34th Street, which is a pretty good movie.
Yeah, everybody should.
We
go
all
watch
seem to
it.
think so.
Maybe one of these days we'll find a bad Christmas movie out. I don't really.
I'm sure they exist.
I mean, I know of at least one, even though people.
Maybe we'll watch the new Miracle on 34th Street, and you'll be like, "Oh gosh, this is so much worse."
There.
There's a lot of entertainment that goes deep into the Santa mythos, We could have hours of discussion about that.
Yeah, no, I know there is. I don't think it's very controversial amongst this group, but I know there are a great many people who. I can think of at least 2 Christmas movies that I don't like that are generally well beloved, and I don't really want to watch either of them. I'd rather
do tell.
Okay,
just name them.
Okay, one is
Can't
one
hurt
we've
to just name them.
One is one we have talked about before, or I don't know if we've talked about it on the air, but we have talked about it amongst ourselves, being Elf, which is Will Ferrell. The other one, which I've never enjoyed, like even as a kid, is A Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
I just don't understand that movie at all. I do not understand the enjoyment of that movie.
It's just funny when he licks a pole and then he can't get his tongue off of it because it's frozen onto the pole. And then we proceed to laugh. Yeah. And there's a few other things, but
yes, there's the tongue on the pole, and then there's you'll shoot your eye out, and then I'm like, that. I don't know if I forget if it was TNT or TBS. I don't know if they still show that movie or like the entire week before Christmas or whatever, but there are people who would like watch that movie like many times on there, like, I love this movie. I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's just about how ridiculous childhood can be.
There are other movies that do that aren't as annoying.
Okay. So BJ does not like either of those.
No.
And Elf is popular-ish.
Elf is dang popular. I have no idea why. But then,
the first half of that movie is really kind of funny. I have to admit, but
I do not enjoy. Is it Will Ferrell? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I do not enjoy his style of humor, so that kind of ruins the whole movie for me.
Yep, that definitely would make it hard to watch that. To watch Elf.
As has been established, I apparently don't like humor. As like every comedy we've watched,
like humor.
I have.
You're just not there. You like. I don't like all the laughing.
I don't.
And the fun.
Why are you laughing?
Yes. Well, we're all entitled to hate a few people from Hollywood. We're not. There's no. We are not forced under duress that we have to like every single kind of movie from every kind of actor or writer or producer, I might say. We are not forced or obligated to do so. So your opinion is fine, BJ.
Thank you, Jeff, for the disclaimer.
Yes.
It's the second disclaimer we've ever had outside of the one at the beginning of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep. All right. Are we ready?
That wasn't a very Christmassy ending, but I guess we're going to end there.
It was appropriate to end it in a grumpy tone.
Humbug. I hate people. I loathe people. I will say that.
And for those who don't know, that is a famous song that we all sing from the musical Scrooge.
Yeah, I say it's famous to me, but I acknowledge the fact most people don't know it.
That is true.
I'm kind of glad we didn't do scores back then, because I shudder to think what y'all would have given Scrooge as compared to me. It would have been very one-sided. It would have been eight-legged.
You defending it as a.
It would have been Eight-Legged Freaks-esque, I believe. Actually, we were fairly kind Eight-Legged Freaks, but anyway,
we were.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Christmas to even the giant spiders out there and the giant ants.
Yep, all the ants were created from atomic testing. Oh. Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to the toxic waste spiders. Merry Christmas to the radioactive ants. Merry Christmas to whatever other
monsters, the giant Cthulhu-like monsters.
Merry Christmas,
and other things
Cthulhu.
From all the other movies that we've reviewed.
Maybe.
And at this point,
Cthulhu wouldn't drive everyone insane if Cthulhu believed in Santa Claus. I'm just going to say that out.
What would Cthulhu get in his stocking? Santa Claus.
I don't know, but it would make him holly and jolly, I'm sure.
It would.
What does a giant alien from outer space want? I think he'd get an alarm clock. That way
he would know when to wake up.
Yeah.
Can't remember every single prophecy that's ever been made.
I need an alarm clock. I'm tired all the time.
because when I wake up, I'm just tired still because I've slept too long. Ah.
Wow. Okay. Now we should let the audience go, BJ.
I say, those guys has gone definitely silence for like the last 5 minutes, just letting this nonsense wash over him.
I think he's tuned out.
It was me last episode. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody, from the Wandering Tangent podcast. We will see you sometime in January, or whatever we talk about in January. Might be a little bit, because it looks like there's a 5th Tuesday in December. So yeah. Enjoy your holiday. Merry Christmas. Does anyone else want to say Merry Christmas, or do I just have to keep saying it?
Merry Christmas.
You say it for each of us.
Merry
Christmas.
There we go.
Merry Christmas.
Finally got the gang to play along. See you next time, folks.